Hello, Assalamu alaikum, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Classics Show. I am your host, Shabnam Riaz. Well, today we've got a really, exciting program for you today. And I'm sure our viewers are really going to enjoy watching the topic and, what we're going to talk about. Because we're going to talk about today the importance of comics and cartoons. I mean, who hasn't spent their childhood surrounded by comics and, enjoying cartoons, whether the cartoons you see on television or the cartoons in magazines. And for that, we are very happy to have with us in our studios today the very talented Nigar Nazar, who is the first woman cartoonist of Pakistan and in fact the Muslim world, and the author of cartoon and children books, and of course your famous Gogi comics. And thank you so much, Nigar, for joining us here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Right. Okay. So, the joys of comics, the joys of cartoons. As I said in the introduction, many of our fond memories are those where, you can relate to cartoons or a specific cartoon character or a favorite comic. Tell us about comics and their impact on our childhood and those developing ages as well, and the fun and the laughter that we derive from them.
Well, as a child, like you said, like every other child, I was also hooked onto comics. But then I was reading comics of Little Dot, Richie Rich, I was doing comics of Lulu and all those characters of my times. And when I came back to Pakistan with my father from the US, then I was missing reading comics, so I was just borrowing comics, and I was buying the second-hand comics that were available, and I missed our own comics, our characters, our environment, our issues, our problems. They were not, how you can say, desi.
Very true.
And I kept waiting. And it still didn't happen. I kept waiting until I had done my pre-medical and was going into the further medical studies, when I said, that's it. Nobody's making them, I shall make them.
Okay.
Because I was always an avid reader of comics, and then I was also very fond of drawing, and I was good in drawing, so I said,
What was the trigger? What was that moment
that moment was when I said, oh, this botany and zoology is ever so boring. How about drawing? How about fine arts? And I just walked into the fine arts department.
Okay.
And the classes had just started, and so the teacher said, okay, you want to join, you're late, but let's take your test. And since I was always drawing, it was no big deal for me to be drawing a still life, which was not even moving.
Okay.
And I just drew it out. And
when did you discover your talent for drawing? Was it at a very young age?
I think I was drawing all the time. I was drawing in the margins of my books. I was drawing when I was bored. I would be drawing on the blackboard. I would just draw. And I enjoyed it. And I think it comes somewhat in the genes as well. My aunt and my uncle used to be a painter, and so it just got rubbed off, I guess. But yeah, I was just drawing all the time. So it was something that I just did. I would take the journals of my classmates and be asking them, can I draw for you? And of course they would love it, and they would say, yes, please. And it turned out that the whole class of 28 had the same drawing. It was the parts of a plant. It was the parts of a plant, and it had, I still remember, these are the stamens, these are the stigmas, this is the petals, and the teacher noticed one from the other, the cloning of the drawing, and she said, what's this? Who's the culprit?
Who's behind all this? Okay, right.
So drawing was not hard.
Okay. So that's you deciding that you want to carry on with, this is something that, then how did this move on to as you said, you wanted the indigenous cartoons, the homegrown characters. And I think that's fantastic about, Gogi and all the cartoons and the comics and everything. We're going to look at them as well and talk about them in detail. But I think the best thing here is the use, as you said, to make it desi, with the native names, the situations, the cultural,
the humor.
The humor.
And then plenty of it.
And then the relatability. Because, of course, when you're looking at comics from abroad and cartoons as well, there is no relatability because the child here or the person, whoever is watching, it won't feel that connection. So your first incident of how did you come up with the character of Gogi?
Well, first of all, I tried after my graduation in fine arts and literature to get a training in drawing comic art.
Okay.
That was not available, still isn't, after all these years, and I keep giving workshops for that. And when I went to the Arts Council in Karachi, and I remember it was Ali Imam, and I said, I want to join a class of cartooning. And he said, we don't have it. I said, can I learn somehow? And he said, yes, I've got some books on the shelf and you can take them one by one and read them and study from them and work on them, work from them really. And that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
And he said, show me a cartoon every day. How? You know, but then I taught myself, I would say. I just, I wanted to, passion.
The passion was there.
The passion was there, and so I just taught myself. And when I taught myself, then I just tried to do the best I could. And I said, now I should draw a comic strip.
Right.
Okay, so I need to have characters. And yes, the first character is going to be a young woman. I was young at that time. And so it's going to be a young woman. She's going to be smart. She's going to be confident. She's going to be a go-getter. She's going to try to achieve. And she's going to be very focused on doing something great, making a difference, nation building, all those kinds of things. And so I made Gogi. And I drew her out and I showed her, and then there was our annual magazine that was to be published. And I made a cartoon for that related to the Arts Council itself.
Okay.
And it was immediately accepted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was my first published cartoon.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So how much of Nigar is in Gogi, or how much of Gogi is in Nigar?
Well, she's my brainchild, then she's my mouthpiece. So it all comes from here on to Gogi.
Right.
So it has to be my thoughts and my attitudes and my... And of course, I wanted to make her a loser so that a lot of people could relate to,
So true.
you can't always be the top of the tops or the best in the best. And then I wanted her to be the butt of the humor a lot of times. Otherwise, I wanted the humor to come through her on issues that are normally not very funny, which is what I'm doing these days.
Now, that is very challenging.
It is.
To do that.
It is. It's very.
So how did you do that? How you know, to add in humor into subjects that are sort of, you know, delicate?
Very.
How did you approach them?
Well, I tried. So what I did was, I would take the subject and first approach it the way I wanted to address it. Then I would take the subject and try to sprinkle some humor in it.
Okay.
Which is what I did with a few of my books.
Right.
Which is what I did with my recent books. Because see, I call them my days of fun and frolic. The times when I was just doing humor for the sake of humor.
Okay.
And I was doing humor around me, everyday life humor.
Right.
And I would just weave it into jokes. And at times there would be very serious subjects.
Okay.
Like women issues.
Yes.
But I would try to see the funny side of it.
Uh-huh.
And I would always say when I was presenting them that I know a lot of this is our sob stories.
True.
But I'm not going to tell you a sob story. I'm going to tell you the funny side of that sob story. So, you know, that cartoon of mine, which I always quote and which has still been after all these years, my favorite cartoon, humorous on women issues. And it's one of those haha cartoons. I call them the haha cartoons.
Okay, right.
And if you, it's not in there, but it's in the other little diary.
Okay, I have the
Anyway,
diary,
it's about Gogi and her friend.
Okay.
Buying challi from the challiwala. And Gogi's friend is saying, you know, when my grandfather was born, they passed around cigars. And the next panel, she says, you know, when my father was born, they passed around cakes. So in the third panel, Gogi is saying, okay, when you were born, and she says, they passed out.
Very nice.
So that's,
right.
now that is the birth of a female child.
Right.
Which is
okay.
not really, if you look at it, it
Okay,
kind of annoyed me a
okay.
lot that when girls are born, then they
Oh,
go into
yeah.
depression. And when a boy is born, they have all these distribution of mithais and door-to-door celebration. But in this time and age, as you know,
Yeah.
girls, women, they're achieving a lot.
Yeah, amazing.
So in those days, something like 10 years ago, I coined this
Okay.
comic strip.
So you've actually been able to merge the really, really sort of, you know, the bitter with the sweet, haven't you? And
tried.
you've made this bittersweet sort of a connection where a person may be laughing at the surface, but inside they're actually realizing the gravity of what this is. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I had to do it. I had to get the cartoonist role into the serious issues. Because as you know, I've done lots of cartoons. My earlier career was comic strips for the press. And I dealt with each and every subject I could. It
I
was
remember
everyday
those.
life humor.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gogi was in every situation. And then people could say, oh yeah, that's my situation too. Oh yeah, this happened to me or
Yes.
that happened to me. But then later on with time, I wanted to do something meaningful. So I remember I came from overseas and I said, got to do something really, really meaningful. And I think that's when I went into the hospital art. I did murals for the hospitals, 4 children's hospitals in Islamabad, Rawalpindi.
Fantastic.
Health messages, and making the whole environment so child-friendly, reducing the stress. When when you enter into a, how should I say?
bright, cheerful
into a bright,
place.
cheerful kind of a thing, you know, environment. At least the
All of a sudden, the child will
child's
feel at home.
stress
and
level
yes.
goes down.
Oh, that's so true.
The medicine works faster.
So true.
The costs go down. The parents are kind of relaxed. So that I understood from a research done by the Royal Hospital in London, that they did a bit of child art in their hospitals, and they had a complete research on it. And I said, well, you know, we should do it too. So I proposed to the largest children's hospital in Islamabad, the PIMS, and they loved the idea, and they said, oh, no, 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 we want you to do lots of them in the emergency area. That's where the stress level is the highest.
Right,
and we just want happy pictures. So you've got 22 happy pictures in the PIMS.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's
And people
amazing.
tell me that, you know, in fact, one photographer amazingly took a picture of a child coming in with a head injury and, you know, the blood on the bandage. And as he's entering, there's a tear rolling down. But he's looking at the cartoon, the Gogi cartoon. And, you know, he's kind of stopped short. And that's such a lovely picture. And so, yeah. So then I went into the hospitals. Then from there, I wanted to do something which was more far-reaching. So I put my cartoons on the buses. That's when the bus wrappings started. 1 bus, 2, 3, 4, all up to, what, 10 buses in Islamabad, Rawalpindi, 2, 3 in Gujar Khan, and 3 in Lahore. So they just kind of multiplied, which was wonderful. And each bus had a funny cartoon, but it had a message as well.
A message as
And
well.
these are 2 of them.
That, yeah, we're going to discuss those as well. Okay.
Those
Now
are
tell
the
us-
bus wrapping cartoons.
Right,
by the
and
way.
we will talk about those as well. Now, tell us about the, you know, your funny comic strips, the women issues, and also the selfie one. What's that?
Right. Well, I try to, when I get the time from my various projects, I try to do some fun cartoons. And so I did the selfie cartoons because that was the end thing.
Right.
Everybody's taking
Everyone can relate to
selfies.
that.
Everybody's a photographer, and from my gardener to my maid, everybody's, you know, got a selfie they're doing. And so I said, let's make cartoons on this subject. So I did one where the woman is completely covered like this, and they're taking it's a reunion, of college reunion,
Right.
and she's dashing in with this burqa and abaya and the cover and the veil and all that. And she said, wait for me. She wants to be in that photograph, the group photograph. So I did that one. Then I did the one where you know, selfies has become such a thing that I've shown in a hospital a child being born with a little,
Yes. Taking a selfie.
taking a picture of, here I am.
My 1.5-year-old granddaughter as well, she picks up the phone and she holds it at an angle because she sees everybody doing that.
Yeah,
So, you know, it's amazing. There's another funny one where she's being asked at immigration.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. The exact words of those caption was, Gogi is going to some foreign country and she's standing at the immigration and one of the officers is asking, so where are you from? And she says, Pakistan, very proudly. I'm from Pakistan. He says, oh, which part? And she says, all of me.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Right, okay. So, now we can, you know, talk about the other things as well. You know, you've used the humour, you've used the light part of Gorgi and her, you know, her lovable personality, because that's the sort of personality that you've made, you know, with all these cartoons as well. Now, as we just talked about, the serious issues that you have addressed. One very, very serious issue is the one about child safety. Let's talk about that, because that really is the need of the hour right now.
It was such a grave issue. It was such a, like I say, sob story. And when so much was revealed, it shook the nation, I would say, because it was constantly in the media, it was constantly being talked about. And I thought that and I remember I was supposed to be doing something and apply for something. And it was a chance. I was even called to apply for that particular project, and I didn't. I just left everything, and I said, I'm working on this issue.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. That can happen later, but I'm going to work on this issue. So I took out my previous work that I had done on child safety, and I revamped it. I made a pencil case, which is right here in front of you.
Right.
It has a very simple message. Know, go, tell.
Exactly, and that is the
message on
message on that. I don't know if the camera can capture that right now, but that's exactly what it is. It is know,
go,
tell. And tell. Now imagine how important that is. Those 3 simple words. Just
and I
know,
want to
go,
animate it. I want to animate it, and I want to put it all over. I want to put it all over this message for kids at least. Because, you know, a lot of parents, it's a taboo subject, and a lot of parents are very hesitant to talk about.
And that is exactly where the whole problem lies. We're going to get back to talking about this right now. We're going for a break, so do not change the channel. Okay, welcome back to the program. We're having a lovely time speaking to the very talented Nigar, and we're talking about Gorgi and, you know, her creation of comic strips and the ability to merge the, you know, the bitter truths with humor as well. And we're really, really enjoying all this creativity. Okay, Nigar, before we went to the break, we were talking about the very, very important issue of child safety. And you were telling us how you had come, you know, to make this pencil case, which is very important. And this message on this pencil case, because every child will be having this, and you know what is being said here.
It just gives a message to kids how to handle undesired attention and undesired, how should I say?
Undesired touch.
Touch,
Yeah.
exactly.
Inappropriate touching.
Inappropriate. And sometimes parents do not tell, do not talk about it, are too hesitant to talk about it, which led me to do that storybook. That when you read a storybook, then you've got the little book in between, and then you can be showing and reading together and talking about it. So yeah, but coming back to the pencil case, it's a very simple message, 3 words. Roko, bhago, batao. In English, no, go, tell. Like if you're getting there, how do you combat it? I mean, it's an adult, it could even be a relation, it could be a very close relation.
A very close relation.
So what do you do? So that at least whenever they use the pencil case, they understand that it's okay to do that. It's okay to push and run and tell some adult who hopefully will believe the child and support the child. Because in my story that I've written, the parents are very cross. How they can be saying something as embarrassing like that to about their uncle, you know. So it just helps the parents to get over that hesitancy and to talk about it and to tell about it and to read the story. And it's like a picture book. So the kids would just read the picture book. It's a picture story.
Right. Okay. So those are the impacts of the Gogi books then.
And if I may, just one thing that I want to add to this. I also designed a game, a board game.
Right.
And in this board game, the kids play the board game, and it has got 33 messages. How do you handle about child rights and all that? And this was produced on a very large scale. A king-size board game was made, and the pawns were the kids themselves.
Okay.
And actually, we did this in the auditorium of the BISP, the Income Support Program.
Okay.
And the chairperson had the kids come in and actually be going through the whole board game.
Okay.
And we had Gogi who was throwing the dice. It was so much fun and laughter, and all those messages were repeated a number of times.
Right.
So we would like to think that the kids are very, very well aware. So these are the innovative approaches, creative approaches, if you like, to communicate. To communicate to children on issues that are taboo or otherwise.
Are we, you know, we're spending, and see, this is a bit ironic. We're in a paradox. We spend so much money on our children, their future, planning for it, you know, for their education, then for their marriages, and then for, you know, houses for them and whatnot. You know, we're doing so much. Are we really giving them quality time? Are we really sitting down and putting ahead that time that is, you know, imperative for us to teach them about the important things in life? Are we doing that?
I'm afraid not. And I'm not saying this because I am criticizing, but I'm saying this because I've had so many educationists approach me and tell me stories about how parents come to the teachers and say, can you tell our child that it's okay to come home or to go to school in a small car and not a big, impressive SUV? Can you tell our children? It seems that they're not able to tell the children or not able to give them that tarbiyat that in our times our elder, senior, our grandmothers or our nannies and our dadis were giving to us and saying, beta, nahi, not this, this is not good, that is good, this is not good, that is good. And our parents also had time to tell us, no, 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 you cannot do this or you cannot do that.
And the reason, it wasn't just a no or a yes. There was a whole reason behind it.
Yes, and we were explained all that. So we grew up that way. But I guess now, when it's our turn, we are either too busy with work, careers, jobs, or whatever. We're not really able to pass on that upbringing, those values, that tarbiyat in the kids. And so I try to do that with my comic books. I try to do it with my shows, with my workshops. And I try to tell children a lot of things that maybe the educationists are not able to tell, because I attended one debate and the educationists, or you could say the teachers or the heads were saying to this was in a conference, and they were saying, this is not our job to bring up your kids. This isn't our job. How can you put this responsibility on us? It should be your responsibility. So I try to bring that in
Right.
with my comic books or with my story books or with my picture books, story books.
Right. Okay. That's great. Okay. Now tell us a bit about these bus wraps as well,
Oh yes.
because we have these as well. I don't know if
Yeah,
the camera will be able to take
I did the bus.
these.
I
but
think I told you about the
what-
buses I did. Okay.
What is being said here?
Here, our national hobby. We have
is.
harassment through staring men, and I've done an animated
Through
spot on
non-verbal
this.
communication.
Non-verbal, totally X-rayed,
Right.
and now when I see loads of young women all wrapped up and dressed up and completely covered, and I wonder, oh my God, in summers, how can they handle this and manage this? It's very, very hard. But that's how it is, and because they feel insecure, and they
Yeah.
feel insecure because they're just being stared at. Even
Yeah.
if they're in an abaya, they're being stared at.
Yeah.
So that's why I did that funny cartoon. And if you see the animated spot of it, it's even funnier because it's got sound effects of the
Okay,
whistlers and
okay.
the, you know. So, so there's that. And the impact of such messaging, colorful, funny, and then a message in between, and then the books, as we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
The awareness, Gogi awareness comic books.
Yeah.
I mean, altogether I've done 27, and I've got 3 or 4 in the pipeline that I'm still working on.
Fantastic.
But the ones that had an impact on girls' education, extremism, interfaith harmony, corruption, environment, Kude Ka Jinn. Kude Ka Jinn, actually, the garbage monster in English, has become the topic for 2-3 universities. They're doing a thesis on it. One is the Qaid-e-Azam University, and one American software house has joined in. They took permission from me to use the pictures so that the kids could tell the story
Okay.
in as many languages as they wanted.
Okay.
And that's a great honor for me.
Fantastic.
I'd love to see it at the end of it, how they're using it and how they're, handling it. But then there's also the Fatma Jinnah Women University. I keep getting orders for these set of 7 awareness comic books. And I don't know, there's some kind of project they're doing on the Gogi awareness comic books.
Right.
The one that had an impact, if you want to know, is the story about girls' education, how it impacted the life of a young girl in a village where we had sent a truckload just as a gift after Ramzan Eid. We were sent it as an Eid present for 7 schools in the peripheries of Rawalpindi, in these villages. And then there's this story of a young girl, typically, going to school, doing well, doing extremely well, loving to learn, and then being told, okay, now you have to stay home. There are household responsibilities, so you stay home. And the younger brothers and sisters need to go to school now, so you stay home. She stayed home. Tahira was her name.
Okay.
But her brother continued to go to school.
Right.
One day he comes home with a stack of these Gogi awareness comic books.
Okay.
And what more could she want? What more could she ask for? There are colorful pictures, and they're all glossy and very nice, quality printing. And she reads this book on girls' education.
Okay.
And something inside her snapped because she was missing school. So she called her parents, had them sit down and read the story from beginning to end. And it, of course, it had pictures as well. And do you know, when the story finished, the father said, from tomorrow, Tahira, you will go to school.
Imagine.
And she wrote us
Wonderful.
this letter. Oh my God, that letter was amazing. It was compelling. It was so good. And she thanked me. She said, I pray for your parents, and your book has changed my life.
What were your feelings when you got that letter?
I could not have asked for any award from any highest authority. That to me was the award. And I called all my writers and artists in the studio and I said, look what we've received today.
Amazing.
Very, very impressive. So yes, a book can change a life. A book can make all the difference. That's why I keep producing these books. And so, yeah, that was the story of Tahira. Then we got in touch with her. Then we were checking out our, computers, getting laptops. So I sent her a computer. And I said,
Wonderful.
you know what, use this, learn from this. One day you will be doing e-commerce. So
Fantastic.
that's the impact
amazing.
of a story.
And that, for any form of creativity, for it to reach a level where you have intended to be at, you know, that is just amazing contentment.
Yes.
Is it not?
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, very satisfying. Okay, so you know, you just said books change lives. With you know, because I saw here in one of your cartoons where you've got a primary level ki padhai, and there's a little girl with a whole stack of books, and then college education, and there's just one
File.
file. So again, you know, a big message done in a humorous way, but there's so much there. With children, giving them so much of a syllabus, giving them so much to study at a very young age, where is the room that we are leaving them with to have extracurricular or fun reading?
I believe that these Scottish schools should somehow find a substitute. All they do is get kids to rotor and reproduce. That is not learning. There has to be a critical thinking, there has to be an objective, there has to be so much more than just the textbook knowing by heart and reproducing it and showing, oh, we have such good results. There has to be, the education has to come from values and character. Not that, oh, I must have a Barbie pencil case or I must have that Ben 10 thing. That is not education. Education is, वो कहते हैं ना, you turn a आदमी को इंसान बनाए, है ना? And you should have values. You have to do character building. I believe the character building is totally missing. Sports is missing. I went to a certain gymnastic class with my grandchildren, and there was a little girl who could not turn over. She had not, you know, doing the somersault was impossible. So the teacher was helping and the parent was helping. She could not somersault because she's never done it. I think she goes from school to home to maybe a tutor to an academy to a qari sahab and go to bed and next day again. So the physical activity is missing. That has to be there. That is part of growing up.
Of course, of course. I mean, out of all your fondest childhood memories, most of them are when you've been outdoors in a park,
gaming,
or you know, in a sport, or with trees, grass, whatever. With
totally nature. Go out and explore nature. I wish I could do activities with children where I would just take them out into the forest or a jungle or a stream or anything, and then getting them to do projects from those very nature things. Find out, explore, learn, write, make reports, do your own, you know, studying. So that is very important, no doubt, no doubt. And all these stacks of books that I talked to a doctor and she was telling me, can't you do anything about, and I wish I could, these kids who carry these heavy bags and they're bending double. And I feel so sorry for them. There has to be maybe a locker system, some system, but they don't have to cart these baggage. It's a baggage, and they're tiny, undernourished, weak kids. They're doubling up, and they get these shoulder problems.
Of course.
I feel sorry, and I wish
it affects their growth. It affects their
growth, totally.
spine.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I just feel very sorry. So all I can do is probably make a cartoon, make an animation, and show it to these educational institutions to find a solution. I'm sure there must be a solution.
Definitely.
Has to be.
Definitely. Right. Okay. Now, because, you know, we're talking about comics, we're talking about cartoons, we're talking about children, we're talking about books and all this. How can parents help their children in a way? Because I remember growing up when I was very young, bedtime story was really, really important. And I used to look forward to it the whole day. And, you know, even if it wasn't from a book, it was from memory, it was there, the art of storytelling, the bedtime story, or any time of the day story, the impact of that.
Yeah, totally. It's a very simplistic thing. And I think we need libraries. We need loads of libraries. We need literature for children. And we need kids to go to a library, pick up a book, choose their books. In the beginning, they won't because they've never been to a library. We don't have libraries here. We don't. I'm sorry. We don't have children's libraries. And I would love to see kids going from government schools or art schools or, you know, the welfare schools or the garage schools, just walking into a library, spending one nice hour, picking out colorful books, reading them, borrowing them for free, bringing them home, reading them, and maybe getting their parents or their elders read them a bedtime story.
Yeah.
If not that, then at least they can read the stories passed on to them by their grandmothers, their great-grandmothers.
Very
Cook
true.
up a story, read a story, tell a story to a child that he'll be amused with. If nothing else, what I do with my grandchildren sometimes is I start a story and I say, okay, now you tell me what could happen next.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You know,
Yeah.
okay, now you tell me what happened after that. So they are inventing stories.
Yeah.
They're reading, they're inventing, they're concluding, and then I tell them, look, we have to bring it to a climax, so they can bring it to a climax and then take it back. But the thing is, reading books has to be inculcated. That's why I'm trying to bring out as many books as I can.
Right.
And I'm trying to get these books, actually my mission is to get these awareness comic books, and I'm going to be showing the titles of them, to kids who have never held a storybook in their lives. And I've asked so many kids, you know, middle class or under that, do you have a storybook? No. Do you read storybooks? No. Oh, well, what now? So I say that if we could have the more established, the more resourceful people sponsoring these awareness storybooks for 10 children, 50 children, 100 kids, and getting them across. There are so many recipients. I could give them a whole list of schools where we could send these and have them gifted. Then Gogi Studios will match that number. Okay? So if someone orders from us and gives these out, they can give their own. If they order 10, they can give it in the servant quarter to any child that they want, and we will match that number by taking them. We've already distributed more than 18,000 sets of books. One set
Fantastic.
is 7 books.
Right.
So all they have to do is write to us
Right.
on my email address. You know, you could have that. It's a very simple Gogi Studios on
Okay.
Gmail. You know, order the books, you'll get them at your doorstep, and we will match it by giving it to some welfare school as well.
Right.
Order 50, another 50 children in some godforsaken corner of the country will get those 10 sets.
That is really, really, you know, we all talk about making a difference. We all talk about doing something, you know, so that every little thing counts. So what Nigar is saying here is it's just such a wonderful solution as well, because there's so much we want to do. So, you know, order a set of books and
another child will get
and
it
another
somewhere.
child will get that too. And what a feeling of accomplishment. I mean, do we ever think before we're going out to get the latest outfit or visit the latest sale or whatever, you know, whatever you want to do? So this is something so constructive. So, you know, do look into that. It's at the email you were saying? It's
Yeah, it's Gogi Studios, G-O-G-I, Studios, S-T-U-D-I-O-S, at gmail.com.
right, okay.
Simple, as simple as that. You know what, actually, while you were talking, I was thinking, why don't I go and put these stacks of books with the designer shops where women are buying like for 20,000, 25,000, one jora, and maybe sponsor one set of book, 1,200 rupees for a child somewhere, or just take it home.
Yeah.
Give it to your own kids and
household
let
help.
them pass it on to
Yeah.
some underprivileged kids. There
exactly.
are
That's
so
a very good
many.
idea.
And there's completely colorful picture books. They have even people who are semi-literate can read those books.
The most important thing is that, you know, you have combined the messages with these. I mean, it's not just entertainment.
Yeah.
There's just so much more with there. So that's really great. Okay, and now we were talking about, you know, comics and comic strips and cartoons. How important is it for us to have a superhero?
Oh, for kids, it's the ultimate.
I think even when you're an adult, you wouldn't mind a superhero
it is,
or two.
it's like a role model, I think. It's a fantasy. Superhero is a fantasy. So I have shown Gogi at one time flying with her chadar. She flies with the chadar and she goes and does things right. She tries to set things right. So yeah, dreams come true when you dream them. So yes, and for a child, I think it's very nice to have a superhero in his. I remember when, when you used to read Calvin and Hobbes, it's just a little teddy bear, or is it a tiger? Yeah, tiger he calls it. Tiger is there, and he just imagines that tiger coming to life, larger than life, talking with him, playing with him, fighting with him, debating with him. And it was such a fantastic comic strip. Very, very popular. But yes, you need to have a hero. Or, like I said, even if you don't, you can imagine.
Imagine one.
You have to tell children to imagine, to open up the windows of their imagination and imagine what a superhero could be, or
what they could do.
Superhero could do with you.
Exactly. Tell us about the Gogi song, Nigar.
The Gogi song. Oh. We see so much doom and gloom around us all the time. Sometimes you don't want to have, you don't want to pick up the paper before breakfast. You pick it up and you don't want your breakfast anymore. So there's doom and gloom. But in our song, what we have said through Gogi is, then one little thing that you do, one little act of kindness that you do, or one little good thing you do, maybe picking up a wrapper and putting it in the bin, or picking up, or stopping someone from throwing garbage out of your car or out of your school bus, is a good thing. It's a good, positive thing. It's a neki. So in our song, we coined this song and said that there are lots of wrongs in our society, no doubt. But it does not mean that you should be affected and do the wrong things.
Right.
You should stick to your good principles. And whenever we play this song at the workshops that I have, or at the sessions and presentations that I have, and Gogi comes along and she dances to it, it gives the kids that feeling that yes, एक अच्छाई भी अच्छी है, और वो अच्छाई आप हैं. I always tell them, even if it's one little good thing you are doing, one positive thing you are doing, it's okay.
Yeah.
Even if there are 10 wrong things going around, but you are doing the one right thing. And that is good. Because that achai can be you.
Exactly.
That is you. So
and it has a domino effect.
So if everybody or every child thinks like that and does that, we will have so much good things going around.
Right, really, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Nigar, and it's a wonderful program, and I'm sure our viewers are going to be delighted knowing about all the efforts that you have been putting into in the awareness, not only just for children as well and for reading, but the awareness programs as well. That's fantastic. So just before we go, a very quick, because we're running out of time, quick message for our viewers.
Be very strong and think about character building for yourself. Be the change you want to see. Be that character that you want your children or your grandchildren to be. And stick to your guns. Hold on to it. It's all right. I mean, there are lots of bad things going around. But if you are a model, kids will follow you. And keep on impressing them. Give them that tarbiyat, tell them all the right things, and tell them not to be affected by all the wrong things that are going around.
Right.
That is my message.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Pleasure.
Okay, and with those wonderful words, we will say goodbye to you. And remember, there, as Nigar said, the neki is within you. Everyone has something good to offer. So, always be positive and always make sure that you are making that contribution to society, because you just don't know who's watching. And it's making an impact on them as well. So until next week, bye-bye.
एक अच्छाई भी एक अच्छाई भी एक अच्छाई भी अच्छी है एक अच्छाई भी एक अच्छाई भी एक अच्छाई भी यहाँ रिक्शे भी हैं यहाँ रेड़ा भी रेलगाड़ी भी है यहाँ छकड़ा भी यहाँ चाकू भी है